And we're live. Hi guys, this is Chris Richards. He's taking part in the Alpha project. So we're going to use this interview really to introduce him and let everyone know where Chris is at the moment. So Chris, could you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, hi. I'm Chris. I have a driving school. Got quite a few instructors that work for us, and through COVID and a few other things, gone through quite a rough time recently.
You've 2 kids as well. Your father, 2 kids, not right?
Yep, and that's been fun as well. The homeschooling is
I was going to say the homeschooling must have been fun during this time. So what? I mean, we talked a bit briefly about this. That all the funding and the bits and pieces that were set up to kind of help small businesses, you kind of fell through the cracks, didn't you, in a lot of those?
Yeah, well, just probably a couple of months before kind of COVID really hit, we decided that we're going to kind of streamline the business, and we wanted to work on like our core offering, and the instructors that were really we liked and wanted to help more. And as part of that, we got rid of the office. So
you didn't get that £10,000 grant then.
If we had the office for a couple of more months, we'd have got a nice £10,000, which would have been really helpful as a grant. That didn't happen. Lancashire County Council did like a hardship fund, I think they called it. That was ridiculous. They'd reduced that to £5,000, and by the time you got through the hoops, it was closed. And it's almost like a postcode lottery. If you're in certain kind of postcodes, different councils did a different system, and lots of people were doing really well from it, and we were just still left struggling.
So basically, COVID's pretty much shot your business completely.
Yeah, as you can imagine, from a driving instructor point of view, you're in the car, you're close confined to somebody. Lots of people are saying the younger generation are the ones that are spreading it more because they don't always realise they have it. And if you're in a car for maybe a 2-hour lesson, air conditioning on, so what we can kind of touch on about here. Yeah, we're usually, or what it's been in the couple of lockdowns, we're the first ones to be told to stop and the last ones to be allowed to work back. And our nature of the business as a driving school that has instructors who are franchised to us, if they're not earning money, how can we charge them a franchise fee?
Yeah.
So
I guess the bigger you are too, the harder you fall in that regard. You'd build yourself up to have a really good team, and then because obviously the more overheads and the more things you've got going on, right away there's just the income disappears basically overnight for you.
Yeah, you can't charge somebody if they can't earn. And I suppose being on the other scale, some of the smaller guys are, well, they're just looking after themselves, and maybe they've got a partner that's still having income, they're getting by. You've got the guys more like us who have instructors who may be struggling because you've got the overheads, you've got all that sort of stuff, but you don't have any of the help. And on the far side of the things, you've got the really big national companies who are actually charging the instructors because they have
continuing to charge the instructors.
Yeah. But we can't do that. I know them. I know the family. I know the kids. They're in the same place as me. I can't make them pay me when they're struggling.
Mm. Well, it would never last anyway, would it? That kind of you run like that, it's never going to last. So, no. I mean, how did that feel, man? That must have been pretty big kick in the teeth. How were you feeling throughout all that?
I think the first lockdown, it was just a case of knuckling down and getting through it. I'm probably in the same boat as everybody, thinking it's just a couple of months, or well, it's just a month, then a couple of months, then it's all right. We'll get there again. And we got huge wait lists. There's so many people wanting to learn to drive. There's a massive wait list for tests and lessons, and we're like, well, we'll get through this. There's less instructors. The market's going to be better for ourselves in that respect. We can do this. We just got to knuckle down and survive. And then it happened again.
Yeah, it's getting a bit dire, definitely.
Yeah. And then we then went into the different tier systems, and again, in different tiers, we're not allowed to teach. And then it hits most of our instructors because they're in tier 4 areas, or they lived in tier 4 because they were literally a different postcode, but they taught people in tier 3.
Hmm.
In tier 3, they're allowed to teach, but they weren't allowed to teach because they're in tier 4. So all their learners saying, well, we can still learn
Yeah.
and
So
drive.
going to other schools maybe in that
Yeah.
postcode.
So, yeah, and we lost people through that. Personally, as a driving school, we've lost a couple of instructors because they've retired early. They've maybe had underlying health conditions. They decided, do you know what, it's just not worth it. And quite a lot of them have ended up having to get a different job. They can't support themselves, or a few of them were new to it. We trained quite a few new instructors, and because they didn't have all the HMRC kind of tax, or what do you call it, basically because they hadn't submitted the first lot of tax returns yet because they were new to it, they fell through the holes even more. They weren't entitled to anything.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your position. We closed the gym last March, and it was pretty much nothing since then. We did a little bit of online at the beginning, and then I guess the problem was you had people who were used to coming to a gym, trying to move online, and whilst they were happy enough to follow through for 12 weeks or so, people, they weren't ever going to be indefinitely happy with that because they were used to the attending the gym. Um, so what about before this? What about before COVID, everything else? I mean, we first met when you contacted me about the Crucible. Well, let's go before that. Even give everybody an insight into what was things like for Chris before all that, before the disaster and everything else.
Well, I think we met maybe November, December
Hmm.
before the Crucible started in January, and maybe a year before that, things for me were really quite rocky. A couple of years before that, they were great. We had a nice big office. We had a training room. We had another little reception area. We had a couple of staff. Things were flying. It was brilliant.
What happened then that there was a downturn, let's say?
Well, there's a couple of things. Just before, like, kind of, we really were quite busy and big. My business partner passed away, so that was a huge
Yes.
blow. And overnight, literally, because it was out of the blue, we went from being kind of me and him doing all the work to just me.
Yeah.
And him being sort of my best friend as well, someone I spent 23 out of 24 hours a day with. It was a huge shock to the system, and I just put my head down and kept going, and we're all right for some time, but then it just kind of all hit, and then the inevitable happened. The business was onto lesser footings, and stuff started to be dropped and fumbled, and yeah, it went down pretty quick. Then kind of got our rats together, started building back up again. Was wondering what to do, where to turn. Realised actually part of the big thing was my own health. I put on, I don't know, 3 or 4 stone easy. Some of the pictures from back then, they're not me, honestly.
Yeah, you're unrecognizable actually from your old pictures. You
Well,
can't recognize you at all.
yeah, my daughter, she's 11 now, and my ex-wife, that's another part of the story. She showed Georgina a picture on her phone and went, and she was like, "Who's that? Who's that holding me?" Well, that's your dad. That's not my daddy. He doesn't look like that. She didn't even recognize me. My own
You know
daughter.
what though? You really don't look the same, man. You look so much different now compared to then. It's insane that the how yeah, it's just insane how different you look. Honestly, you look a different person altogether.
Yeah, I feel it because that was, I think at that period of time in my life, things were just happening. I wasn't there. I wasn't with it. It was, get up, go to work, do this, do that. It it is probably over a good 4, maybe 5 years, really, it was really kind of struggling.
Just a long slog on autopilot, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I think when I reflect on it, or when I think about it, to me, it happened over maybe a year or 2 years. And actually, when you look at the timeline, it's probably about five
Yeah,
years. Just because everything just blends in. You don't really realize when you're in it so much day to day, and you're just getting by that, how long the actual time periods have been.
it's true that. True. I went through a period similar to that in my own life, and
Yeah.
you don't realize it when the days are going by. Before
Mm.
you know it, well, but in my case, it was 2 years had passed, and I thought, where did those 2 years go? What happened?
Yeah, I suppose actually the part of it when it started going wrong was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And then, was it 3 years ago, my father-in-law committed suicide as well. So that was another bit. I just started to try and get back on top of things, changed, and if you look back on everything, it's kind of like up and down. Every time it was starting to go
Every time
well,
you get ahead, something
yeah,
comes along.
a rocket full frontal, and it takes a while to get back on top of things when you have kind of like some life changing events like that.
Those emotional hits are definitely, it's definitely a massive factor. And if your headspace isn't right, then running a business is damn near impossible. As you know, you need to. People don't understand that whenever you've got a day job, you can go out in ghost mode. You cannot do that with a business. Your business will disintegrate before your eyes.
Yeah.
So I fully understand where you're coming from. So I mean, what was a decisive moment? What led you to get in contact with me about the Crucible? And I know this, but it's for the benefit of everyone else listening.
Do you want to remind me? Yeah, but basically, I think I had one of those kind of moments where I was looking around and what I had in life again. I just properly split up with my wife, ex-wife. I think I was at rock bottom, thinking, what do I do? Where do I go? Looking at myself, and I think I'd even probably listened to David Goggins' book.
David Goggins, yeah.
That's the one. And I just kind of did that bit where you look in the mirror. He's on about like an accountability mirror, and you look at it, and like basically give yourself hell. And I kind of just looked at it, and I didn't even recognize what was looking back at me, and I'm like, right, this has to change. And also realized, if I'm not happy with myself, and if I don't like what I'm doing or who I am, how the hell can I move forward in life?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the big things was I was just so unhealthy, so unfit, unwell. I was really quite lethargic. I just no motivation. Everything had just completely gone. So that was it. I was like, right, let's change from the inside, get myself sorted, and get on and drive the business forward at the same time.
And that was when you joined the Crucible.
I'd like to say I never look back, but I met this Irish guy that maybe do bloody sprints in -3 degrees outside at 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's the way forward. Yeah, it was such a good course set. I guess why, after that course, things had started to improve. I mean, we've been talking a fair bit at that point. You started to build things back up again. Everything was looking on the up, and then of course, you basically just finished that. You were in the second lot, I think, and
yeah,
and then COVID.
Yeah, the last week of Crucible, I think it just started taking effect. We weren't sure where you could do kind of indoor training, and it was all a bit up in the air, and we were wondering, what was going on and how it was going to affect us all. But from that up until that point, I was in an awesome routine. Up first thing in the morning, I wasn't really drinking. The only bits like personal wise that I didn't have sorted was I was traveling from Liverpool to Preston.
Yeah.
So I was still at my parents'. That was one of the big things that I actually had a plan to sort, and I actually was sorted a few weeks after.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, when I didn't need to travel for an hour every morning, every evening again.
That's when I got it started. It's Murphy's Law, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, it was. I just really enjoyed the structure, the training, the dedication. It literally it changed who I was, and I got mojo back. I was me again. I loved it. And then it went from all that kind of structure, training, dedication, even like the tighter masterminds for like the business wise and all that sort of stuff. I was, really enjoying all that as well. And all of a sudden,
Nothing. I know. It's funny because whenever all this happened, I kind of, after the first initial 3 months, the first lockdown, everything seemed to be okay. And, we kind of had a light at the end of the tunnel type thing. I was just waiting to open a bigger and better premises. We closed the last one and all that. So, and then it extended, and then extended again, and extended again. And um, halfway through there, at some point, I definitely went radio silent. I decided to take time to really think about where I was going, what I was doing next.
Yeah.
I've probably been doing that for the last 6 months or so. So it's cool now that, I mean, you probably just did it because I asked you to, but I mean, what's made you jump on this? What's kind of enticed you to Project Alpha?
Is that whole kind of structure and dedication and accountability. Like I've read lots of books, I've done lots of homework. I kind of, in a way, I know what I need to do, but I'm not doing it. And I think that's what's hit me with this last lockdown. I literally feel almost lost.
To be honest, it's something that part of the reason why I came back with this, I've changed the name of the course. Obviously, it was Crucible before. And the reason that I've changed things is because it is different. Whereas I kind of mentioned this in one of the other interviews, actually, the Crucible was a bit more of I was throwing things at you that I had learned over the years. It was all about just teaching as much as I could while I was there. But I mean, it was a very broad aim of getting better, and everybody was there, and they were all getting better.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't any kind of specific context or any framework, and it was only in the last 6 months after reading more into behavioral psychology that I realized that was what was missing from the course was a template and a context in which to put it in, something that could be recalled again and again and again, so that it can be used and maintained long term. That's what I spent the last 68 months doing. So what is it that you want to, I mean, where do you see yourself in a year, 3 years, 5 years? COVID, COVID aside, what are you going to do now that shit's hit the fan?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Where do you see yourself?
So business wise, I'm kind of pivoting a little bit, doing a lot more online training content to kind of help the business. It's going to be a different way of kind of lead generation, but also a different kind of extra income revenue generating stream, hopefully. But really, in all honesty, the first 12 months is getting the business back to the levels before COVID. We're at a point where it's not even starting again, it's starting from a much worse place.
Yeah, it's not starting from a place of strength.
We've got all the debt associated with COVID, we've got all the overhead still, we've got the bounce back loan that's helped, but it's a loan, that needs to be repaid. So before we even get to anywhere where we were before, we've got to be able to take all that and build up. So yeah, the first 12 months is literally getting back on an even keel again, getting to the bits we were just before COVID hit. The new bits really, from the online training part of it, I want to have 300 new customers through the online training.
Nice. So past this year, past the big, I guess the aim for you is to get the driving school up and running and open again. And back to where it was first of all, and then start to progress again. So I'm hoping that if that is the goal, then we can make you do that pronto as soon as doors open again. But say 3 to 5 years down the line, what is it that where do you see yourself then? I know we mentioned the boat at some point during a conversation.
Well, yeah. Part of this year as well, the next 12 months, is learn how to sail a boat.
Interesting.
And spend more time on the boat. It's a possibility maybe getting an old boat and kind of doing it up, and that's going to be kind of over the next 12 months. Like the 3-year mark is like growing the business, having another 30 instructors in another 3 years.
What does that mean for you? So what in 3 years, what's that going to mean for you? Are you going to have more freedom? What's it going to mean?
Yeah, it's a lot more about freedom and kind of stability. So building up a reserve, a cash flow, I think actually looking back at some of the notes from Crucible, one of the things I wanted was 3 months reserves in the business. If anything strange happened and we couldn't earn any money,
that's right,
paid for 3 months. And I had the same personal account where I had my own wage and all my income. Yeah, if only I managed to do that.
Yeah, it's all right having 3 months, but you really needed 12.
Well, yeah, there's hindsight, isn't there?
Yeah, this is it.
But yeah, so like the 30 other instructors and the kind of more people using the online training courses, being able to kind of sell additional leads that we can't fulfill through that, and transforming the school into more of like a hybrid training school.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just being a driving school that has instructors, we have like other instructors who work more as like associates and stuff like that, and we're kind of changing the way the driving school operates. But
what is it that you expect then, say in the next 84 days, because that's how long it's going to be? What do you expect to happen? Have you got any idea? I know I've been fairly vague. I've mentioned this in other interviews as well.
The only time you actually mentioned 84 days was earlier when you said, what are your future plans? And then you mentioned something about 84 days. I'm like, 84 days? That's a strange kind of time and figure. I suppose really it's getting the routine and stuff in place and kind of chipping away. Like a lot of what we're doing that's going to take us, the reason it'll take me a year to get back is we need to train new instructors, and that's going to take 6 to 9 months. And that was kind of pre-COVID, whereas now the waiting list for tests are even longer. So, I could maybe take on 10 new trainees, but it might take me a year to get them through till they can teach. So, from that point of view, whatever we do now is not going to really have
a long-term impact.
The business, yeah. So
in that case, I'm glad you said it, because that's a far more realistic approach. People think they're going to do a whole lot in 90 days or 84 days. In my case, you're not going to do a lot in that time. But what we can do, what I'm hoping to transfer to you guys, is the framework to attack something like that, and to make you the best you can be for that. In a lot of ways, not just the course has got, whilst there's training and nutrition and sleep and stuff, the usual involved in that. That's all part of facilitating your ability to run your business. However, on top of that, we do go into fairly deeply into behavioral psychology, into why you do things, why other people do things, and I think those interpersonal stuff, especially for running the business, will be really, really useful tools for you. So I'm looking forward to see how you respond to those.
Well, I think that's it for me. Like the real short term is getting back into that routine. Even things like doing the 3 frogs of the morning, doing my journal, literally waking up.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. Everybody really knows me as a morning person. Yeah, it's dark outside. I used to just get up and get out of bed, have a shower and out, or go to the gym. And even if I didn't do anything, I was literally going to a routine of going to the gym. And if I had stuff to do, I'd maybe walk on the treadmill and do a few emails, or I'd go to the gym and have a coffee. At least I was there and I was up and I was out. Whereas now, the alarm goes off, I look at the alarm, look outside, think it's dark, curtains are drawn, it's cold. The next minute, hours have passed, I'm still in bed.
I mean, the idea, the thing behind that is, without purpose, without a definitive definite purpose. It's very hard to get out of bed when it's nice and comfortable. So
I've got a new
getting-
bed as well. Maybe that's why.
yeah, well, that too. But you've got to, I guess. Well, we're going to go into all that. Don't worry. But without something that makes you hungry, makes you want to get up, makes you want to work on it, something to get excited about these days, life can be very dreary. So it's really, really important to have that thing or multiple things to get excited about and to make you want to get up out of bed.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about it all, generally speaking? I'm going to wrap it up. Anyway, that was a nice little introduction to Chris.
Cool.
Well, how are you feeling, generally speaking? Are you nervous? Are you excited? What are you like?
No, I'm definitely excited. Like the other day, I ended up going out for a very long hike.
Yeah.
And part of that was just to kind of get out, and I was listening to a few different audiobooks, and just kind of my mind just started engaging on, what we can do and how we can do it. And I started for the first time in a good couple of months feeling like hungry and wanting to do it again. So yeah, I can't wait.
Super. Looking forward to it, buddy. See you later, Chris.
Yeah, right. Take care. Cheers.
Take care, man.